Have you ever just stopped and thought about how incredible your body is? I mean, right now, as you're watching this, you're breathing, your heart's beating, you're probably digesting something, all at the same time. It's an absolutely amazing feat of coordination. So let's dive in and see how your body's command and control systems actually pull this all off.
So really, how do you do it? How is it possible to walk down the street, have a conversation, and breathe, all without your brain consciously juggling every single one of those tasks? Well, that's the big question we're going to tackle, and the answer is just a beautifully designed management system. Okay, so first, we got to break things down a little. On one hand, you have your voluntary actions, the stuff you choose to do, like walking or writing your name. But then, on the other hand, there's this whole world of involuntary actions that just happen automatically, like your heart beating. Managing both of these at once, that's where the real magic is.
Now, to juggle this immense workload, your body is smart. It doesn't just rely on one system. Nope, it has two totally distinct, kind of brilliant command systems that work together to send messages and keep the whole show on the road.
And this table just lays it all out so clearly. You've got the nervous system, which uses these lightning-fast electrical impulses for immediate, short-term reactions. It's basically the body's instant messenger. And then you have the endocrine system, which is totally different. It uses chemical messengers, hormones, that travel a lot slower through the blood but have effects that last way, way longer.
Yeah, this is the perfect way to picture it. If you need to send a message right now, like, hey, that stove is hot, pull your hand back, you use the body's super fast internet, the nervous system. But if you need to send out a company-wide memo with a lasting impact, like, okay, everyone, it's time for a growth spurt, you use the body's internal postal service, the endocrine system.
All right, so let's zoom in on that super fast internet first, the high-speed nerve network. This is the system that lets you react in a split second and, think and have ideas.
And at the center of it all, you have the brain, the body's CPU. The big, wrinkly part, the cerebrum, that's your headquarters for thinking and memory. Tucked away at the back is the cerebellum, the absolute master of balance and coordination. And then, connecting it all to the spinal cord, is the medulla oblongata. It's the unsung hero, quietly running all the automatic stuff in the background, like your breathing.
An organ that important needs some serious protection, and it gets it. First up is your skull, which is basically a hard hat made of bone. Then you have three protective layers called the meninges. And finally, the whole thing is floating in cerebral spinal fluid, which acts like a liquid shock absorber. Pretty well guarded, right?
Okay, but what happens when you need to react, instantly, faster than you can even think? That's where the reflex arc comes in. It's this incredible emergency bypass. A receptor in your skin screams danger. A sensory neuron shoots that message to the spinal cord, where it completely bypasses the brain and goes straight to a motor neuron that yells move at your muscle. Your brain only hears about it after your hand is already safe.
And boom! This diagram shows you that whole trip. You can see the signal traveling in, hitting the spinal cord, and the command going straight back out to the muscles, skipping the brain entirely. It's such a clever, life-saving shortcut. All of that happens in the blink of an eye.
And the hero behind all of this? It's this one tiny cell, the neuron. This is the fundamental wire of your nervous system. You see those branchy parts, the dendrites? They receive the signals. And that long tail, the axon, sends the signals zipping along to the next cell in the chain.
All right, so we've talked about the high-speed internet. Now let's switch gears and check out the internal postal service, the endocrine system. This whole system works on a completely different and way more chill timeline, using chemicals instead of electricity.
And those chemical messengers are, of course, called hormones. So a hormone is basically a chemical message made by a gland. It could send out into the bloodstream to find its target, a specific cell or organ, and tell it exactly what to do. It's like sending a letter addressed to a very specific person. And get this, here's a really key detail. Endocrine glands are known as ductless glands. Why? Because instead of using tubes, these guys just dump their hormones right into your blood. That's what lets those chemical messages travel all over your body to reach faraway places.
So who's running this whole postal service? A lot of the time, it's the pituitary gland. It might be tiny, but it's called the master gland for a very good reason. It releases hormones that act like little managers, telling other major glands what to do. It's basically the conductor of the whole endocrine orchestra.
So this naturally leads to a really important question, right? If your body is counting on all these letters being delivered, what happens when the mail gets lost? What happens when a message doesn't get sent, or maybe the wrong one does?
A really well-known example of this is diabetes. This is what can happen when the pancreas doesn't produce enough of that super important hormone, insulin. Without that critical insulin message, telling cells to grab sugar out of the blood, your blood sugar levels can get dangerously high. It's a perfect example of why this chemical mail service is just so vital.
But wait a second. This whole amazing story of coordination, it's not just for animals. Plants might seem like they're just sitting there, but they are absolute masters of communication and response. They just have a different playbook.
I mean, think about it. Plants don't have nerves, right? But they still have to react to things. They need to find light, get water, and deal with gravity. So how do they do it? They use their own version of the endocrine system, with chemical messengers called phytohormones, plant hormones.
And these hormones, they're the reason plants move in these really predictable ways. You've definitely seen phototropism. That's when a plant bends toward a window to get more light. Geotropism is how roots know to grow down into the soil. Hydrotropism is growing towards water, and thigmotropism, that's the cool one you see when a vine's little tendrils grab onto and coil around a fence.
So what's behind all this plant action? It's these specific chemicals. Auxins are what help the plant cells stretch out and grow. Gibberellins give seeds the kick they need to sprout. Cytokinins are all about cell division. And then there's ethylene. That's the one you can thank every time you eat a ripe banana. It's the gas they release to ripen.
So when you think about it, from a lightning-fast reflex in your own body to the slow, steady ripening of a piece of fruit, coordination is everywhere, driven by electricity and chemicals. Which leaves us with one last kind of mind-blowing thought. Your gut has its own massive, independent network of neurons. It's so big they call it the second brain. So my question for you is, what do you think it's thinking?